Today, let's talk about the current transit of lunar nodes. They represent the environment or the stage where events unfold, and they also determine our perspective, the filter through which we view anything happening. Currently, the lunar nodes are in gates 17 and 18th of Rape Mandala, and this transit is rather long, 4.5 months. It covers period from July 19th till December the 4th. So this transit is impacting our perceptions quite significantly. To understand how, we will first talk about its general characteristics, and then I will provide a brief overview for each month until the beginning of December. You will see a coherent story of how the background frequency is programming our minds, thereby influencing decisions and events. Welcome to my channel. My name is Natalia Mahilna. I'm a professional human design analyst with over 10 years of experience in human design. When I talk about planetary transits from the point of view of human design, which interpretation is principally different from astrology, my goal is to show you how the program influences our minds and our decision-making process. I shed light on this conditioning so that you do not get lost in it, but rather follow your internal compass, your individual strategy, and inner authority. So with this perspective, I suggest we look at the lunar nodes transit. The nodes changed gates on July 19th. The previous gates, gate 21 and 48, brought us the theme of control and understanding of how control works. And we saw that the control patterns that were used before by those who govern society, they do not work well. The new nodes bring the theme of the necessity to fix, to correct what isn't working, what has been broken or spoiled. They also emphasize that those who govern society must show that they understand where they are leading people. They must serve our collective safe future. If they don't, if they violate fundamental human rights, they break a fundamental law of the common good. Both gates, gate 17th and gate 18th, where the nodes are now positioned, are collective gates. This means that the perspective coloring our perception of everything happening is a perspective of large collective processes. In other words, we'll be looking at the world as a whole, the world, its organization, its rules, its interconnections. This is what is in the focus of our attention now due to this conditioning. These are so-called logical gates, and logic circuitry in our design is always oriented towards the future, towards a common, safe, and better future. Therefore, the whole world will be and is conditioned by this frequency to see everything through the lens of whether we are moving towards our collective future. Will it be safe there for us? Is there equality in the future? Are we able to organize in a way so that together we survive and live better? So this is a very humanitarian perspective, I would say. Gate 17th is the gate of opinions. The hexagram states those who wish to rule must know how to serve. Gate 18th is the gate of correction, and the hexagram is called work on what has been spoiled. It speaks of vigilance and determination to defend basic and fundamental human rights. So there are a lot of opinions and a lot of discussions on are we going to the safe collective future? Do those who govern us serve the common good? Do they understand where and how we need to go at all? Do they understand what needs to be corrected in our world to ensure everyone's safety and that the basic and fundamental human rights are observed? These lunar nodes tell that we need collective security and organization. What should this new system of collective security in the world look like? What is this formula for peace that will bring us safety? So these are the main questions for these months. You see here we're talking about the protection of fundamental human rights. When the previous nodes were active, there was this theme in the focus of our attention that the methods of control that are used or were used by our governors, there is something wrong with them, and they violate human rights. Also, we had the sense that those in power were losing control over what was happening. So now, during these 4.5 months, starting the end of July, there will be a lot of criticism, many questions, many doubts, much judgment about what was done wrong previously. Numerous opinions and discussions about what went wrong in our society, what is broken, what is viable, and what is not. Authorities are being challenged, and they are challenged in the form of protests, civil unrest, and social disorder. There is a lot of this going on in the world right now. There's also a lot of fear and doubts about our authorities' abilities and intentions. So this is the kind of conditioning we are getting now. Our minds are conditioned to judge what is right and what is wrong. Endless discussions, endless exchange of opinions in mass media, in the collective field. So each of us individually risk getting totally immersed in these collective discussions and these plans for the future, these opinions and judgments and condemnations. But what is important to understand is that this is just the conditioning. And it is important to understand that collective plans and collective opinions are not your inner authority. We are approaching the very end of the cross of planning, where the background frequency was all about moving towards a common, safe future together, with each person being just a small particle, just a small element in this giant mechanism of world community. But in 2027, the background frequency is changing, and we will enter the era of individual spirit, where we can no longer rely on external authorities leading us anywhere. Nobody really knows what is safe for you and where you should go. Collective opinions, advice, plans made by someone for you will no longer be what allows you to survive. Now, each of us can rely only on our inner truth, on our inner authority and our individual strategy. And this will become more and more obvious the closer we are approaching 2027. So this was a general overview of the nodes program and the background frequency we are getting and will be getting till the beginning of December. Now let us look at how the story will unfold month by month. We have already lived through some period with the nodes in the 17th and the 18th gates. It was the end of July and the first part of August. We are actually living now in the first part of August. During this period, the nodes have passed the sixth line of the gates. That was the period when we first massively, collectively focused our attention on what is broken and needs correction. And the essence of the sixth line here is that it is about listening to public opinions. What are the prevailing moods in the society? What is the public opinion about what is spoiled and needs fixing? Accordingly, opinions were expressed publicly that our path should be clear and straightforward, directed to the common, safe future. And interestingly, what I noted for myself from this period, I guess it was the end of July is one of the first public speeches of Kamala Harris when she became a candidate for US presidency. She said, "America has tried a failed policy, but now we are not going back to the past." Meaning that now we'll be looking at the future, at our best future, and so on and so forth. That's exactly what the sixth line of Gate 17 speak about. It says, "We have understood what we did wrongly. Now we must do things differently, and this is how." Okay, now we are in the period of the fifth line. And here, in the collective information field, opinions arise that we need to find the strength to acknowledge the problem and accept that we cannot solve it alone. This period is about establishing relationships. This is the period of cooperation on solving our common problems. Gate 17th in the fifth line tells us that we are all interdependent, and fixing something in just one part or in one place is insufficient. We need to organize collectively and make whole comprehensive corrections. However, there are those who, despite the obviousness of what needs to be fixed and that it needs to be done collectively together, will refuse to see this. They will refuse to cooperate, acting as if they are independent of others. So they are creating kind of obstacles on the way of achieving a common goal or a common plan. On the 60th of August, the nodes will move to the fourth line, and then we will see and discuss incompetence. Here, the incompetence of some players in this overall game of building a collective security system will come to the light. Sometimes something cannot be fixed because not because of unwillingness, but because of incompetence, simply not being capable. And this, of course, brings suffering and misfortune. That's why there are going to be a lot of discussions and a lot of opinions expressed on how to negotiate, how to organize, how to help those who are incompetent. Do they have incorrect motivations, or do they misunderstand something, or do they lack necessary resources? There will be many discussions about motivations and resources. What may help or hinder the correction of the whole situation? In simple words, who and why does not want or cannot take the necessary actions for us all to fix everything together, and how to help them. There will be attempts to somehow manage this process. Then we move to September and October, because these 2 months may bring something very transformative. September is a month of total doubts about our collective safe future at all. In addition to the nodes, which are by its nature quite doubtful, Saturn will retrograde through the 63rd gate of doubt. And this doubt is about whether our formulas for peace and safety that we develop or are developing will work at all. So in September, the nodes will move to the third line and then go back to the fourth line. This will be a kind of a swing from the first line to the third line. And the fourth line, as I already said, says, let's understand the other side, figure out their motivations, their capabilities, and try to find a way out together. Whereas the third line deals with very harsh judgments that if someone or something doesn't want or cannot fix the problem, fix what is broken and spoiled, it should be simply eliminated. Everything old and non-working should be eliminated at an acceptable price. This is a period of fanatism, when Many can become obsessed with the idea that what stands in the way of our collective safety formula must be removed, must be eliminated. Gate 17th in the third line tell us that to truly organize and fix something at its core, we may have to go a very long way. And there may be a great temptation to choose a shortcut. Here where fanatism kicks in. But the wisdom of this line tells us that the shortcut, when you eliminate the obstacle, can create as many problems as it solves. So we'll see how this will unfold in the world, in this huge collective geopolitical processes. Okay, let's move forward, and we are coming to mid-September, from mid-September onwards into October, and it could become quite exciting. I think I might analyze this period in detail in separate podcast as we approach the end of summer, because there is a lot more that deserves attention here. For now, just a brief overview. So October. In October, these September swings go away. There will be no longer a desire to understand the other side, help them overcome their incompetences, or manage this process somehow. This theme disappears, and fanatism fully kicks in. Fanatism in October. The essence of this frequency is that, and this frequency will be conditioning our minds. So it's important to understand it. So the essence can be expressed like, let's take the shortcut and remove what's in the way of our bright future, what hinders our plan and our beautiful formula. And this fanatism to destroy old patterns will be the overall theme of October. And I would like to talk about October specifically and say a few more words, because something very significant happens in October besides the transit of the lunar nodes. Neptune returns to the 36th gate of crisis, and it will enter the 6th line. The essence of the crisis and the wisdom of the whole process is that for progressive changes to occur, it is important to first acknowledge that everything is changing, that every cycle ends, and when it comes to an end, changes are necessary. First and foremost, internal changes are necessary, because this is essential for successful correction and progress. But if we haven't done this internal work, when the time for change comes, we are emotionally unprepared. And then we are not ready to fix anything. We are not able to fix anything. Acknowledging that something was broken means facing the truth. Not everyone wants to do this, as it's not always pleasant. And in such cases, the universe or the life itself, like a surgeon, removes what is rotten, what is already incurable. And in this case, we still enter a new cycle, but with a feeling that it's against our will, that we are losing something. This means we have much fewer internal resources to cope with the change, with what's coming. And this is relevant for both an individual and for collective systems. So the 6th line of the 36th gate, where Neptune enters in October, hints at a powerful emotional crisis, powerful emotional reaction to change. The description of the 6th line of this gate contains or includes a phrase, whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad. So during this period, the world will be overwhelmed by very, very intense emotions. Moving forward, all these themes will flow smoothly or not so smoothly, into November. This is going to be the period of elections in the USA. A very, very turbulent period from the perspective of planetary transits, even if we take into account only Neptune in the 36th gate and the lunar nodes in gate 17 and 18. But there are some more transits, but this is not the topic of my today's podcast. So from the second half of November, we reach the second line of the nodes. This line is called terminal disease. I know it sounds scary, but this is just about acknowledging that something that has been spoiled or damaged or broken is spoiled irreversibly. It is no longer possible to fix this. And this acknowledgement can be hard, of course. Here, the inner strength can only be drawn from faith in spiritual rebirth. It's like a person who gets to know that they're terminally ill and incurable. They can only continue to live by relying on the strength of their spirit. The other side here speaks of futile rage, which makes me think that when we see that our attempts to correct something failed, there's going to be a lot of resistance and rage. There will be no acceptance, unfortunately, because this is what the transits tell us. There will be no acceptance. There will be futile rage. This will create division. For those in power, it will be a moment of choice. Do I serve the common good, or do I just try to stay in power? Is our common success in the focus of the attention of those at power? Or are they just indulging their ego, trying to impose their plans and their understandings of our common future? So this is a period of division and discrimination where opinions will diverge. Note that this period comes right after the US election. This speaks volumes about the atmosphere worldwide right after these elections. There will be a lot of nervousness in the emotional field also. Anyway, finally, at the end of November and until December the 4th, we will have a week, only 1 week, of the first line of the 18th and 17th gate. This period is also very interesting. The first line always carries fear. The first line of the 18th gate is called conservatism. So here, after everything that will have happened by that moment, there will be a fear of the future and the question of whether we need to change gradually or if we should remain conservative. For those who wish to rule, it will be a question of whether gradual changes are necessary to avoid a possible upheaval. I hope you remember that initially the entire scene of the 17th and 18th nodes is about defending fundamental human rights. And these rights are and if these rights are radically violated, it can lead to upheaval and to social unrest. So here we'll have this question for those who govern society, whether to execute gradual changes. We will see those in power who understand the importance of these gradual changes and improvement, as also we'll see those who refuse to correct anything, who refuse to change anything. And this manifestation is more likely to concern those places on the planet where authoritarian regimes exist. But who knows, we will see. So this is the environment that will condition us for over 4 months. All events will unfold under this conditioning. I hope this information helps you to see these themes and avoid frantic searches in your mind for ways to fix everything, judging others, and making decisions from mental plans. When we are in our minds, we might ignore our bodies, what we really feel, what we are really experiencing here in the moment, and what signals are we getting from the space right now. What do we really have energy for? If we ignore all this, then when life eventually brings the changes to our doorway, we may be inadequate in our reactions. We may be shocked. Why? Because we lived in the collective field of conditioning, looking outside and all these collective events and all these questions and doubts and upheavals and so on and so forth, not paying attention to our own lives here and now. Okay, this has been a long podcast. I hope you listened it to the end. If you want to know about your design, what you can rely on in your decisions in this time of uncertainty, I invite you to a reading with me. Check the description below this video for the necessary links. And I would like to wish you to stay in touch with your individual strategy and inner authority despite any conditioning and any circumstances. See you soon. Bye.